Hi there, welcome to the Philadelphia Music, Dance, and Modern Arts Show. I'm your host, Alicia Allen, and today we have a fantastic show for you. We have Philadelphia native independent filmmaker, Cindy Burstein, with us today. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're really excited to have you here today.
It's nice to be here. Thanks.
So for some people who don't know, a bit about your background and what you've done in the area and some of the projects you're working on, if you don't mind, just to give us a little background, a little bio on just some of the things you've done and just what you like to do.
Okay. Well, I am from Philadelphia, born and bred and still here. And I got into, I'm an independent producer, and I got into filmmaking through community organizing. I have it was a bit of a non-traditional path. I was working in Philadelphia as a community organizer and had an opportunity through Scribe Video Center to be part of a media project to work with people from the organization that I was a part of to make a video about an aspect of the work that we were doing in Kensington, where the organization was based. And through that's how I learned video production skills. It was a media empowerment project, and the criteria was that you got a facilitator to help you produce the video, but it was kind of a do-it-yourself approach. So we learned everything direct. It's kind of like like Philly Cam. You learn everything: producing, directing, camera, lighting, sound, editing. And what was originally supposed to be a 4-month project turned into a 14-month production period that really did change my life. I mean, after that, I really wanted to make films. I originally wanted to do it for nonprofit organizations to support the work that nonprofits were doing, understanding the power that media has to communicate a message, and knowing that some people have a lot of money to pay for that messaging and others don't. And as a community organizer, I thought it could be a good resource for organizations that have something to say, but maybe not as many resources to get the message out there. So eventually I went to graduate school to learn more about filmmaking. And since have been I was doing some commissioned work for non-profit organizations, and then I got into independent filmmaking in the early part of 2000, which means being kind of fully in charge of raising the money for your films.
Sure, that's an amazing story to hear how you transitioned into this world. Did you have roots of interest beforehand, or it was just something that just naturally came your way?
It just came my way. I never had any aspirations to be a filmmaker, but I think the experience with Scribe, it was through the Community Visions program, which kind of launched me into the world of filmmaking. The reason, I'd always been interested in documentaries, but as a viewer, I never thought about myself being a maker. I never thought it was a profession. I never thought it was something practical that I would be able to do.
We're going to cut right in and actually take a look at some of your work right now so our viewers can just experience that. So
okay,
here we go. We're going to take a look.
I got arrested when I was 25 years old. So I'm in my 20th year.
The fact that I am here for taking someone's life, I do feel remorse. On that night, I felt as I was defending myself.
When you realize that a person did this wasn't cancer or a sickness, this was an actual person who shot holes in your child's body.
I don't want my legacy to be that I was just a murderer. That I do have something to contribute.
The men in the prison wanted to do a mural in the community. They saw this as a way to give back.
I thought we was going to have something that depicted a little bit more interaction with the community.
I'm speaking as a victim or survivor. I'm not interested in what he has to say. I'm interested in my healing, my becoming whole again.
We tried to come together and see how we could stop some of that pain in the community.
Who are you asking forgiveness of?
Everyone. everyone in society that I have harmed.
I have a real strong reaction to you asking your victim to forgive you, because I think you have no right on the face of this earth to ever ask the person you harmed to forgive you.
I was trying to show the common humanity of all people. You might not want to face the commonality, but it's there.
Can we have two Gradeford muralists over here?
I've heard a couple different people say this. I know that, I caused someone pain, and there is no but.
I see my victim every day. Before I go to sleep and I see his face.
Working with victims side by side, it felt real strange because they would question you about why you was here, but the conversation will always shift to other things. And for a minute, we both forget who we were.
I think some people feel, well, they don't know what happens in the prison. They don't have anybody in the prison and they don't care. But these people come back out and we need to care.
Hi, and welcome back to Philadelphia Music, Dance, and Modern Arts. We just took a look at Cindy Burstein's wonderful work, and I'd like to just take a deeper dive into some things you're working on now, and just overall talk about some of your inspirations. And I know you mentioned the nonprofit, so what really inspires you to dive into a certain project? And please just take the lead on this, but tell me what you're working on and what inspires you.
Yeah, well, I can tell you a little bit about the clip we just saw.
Sure, yeah.
Which is from a film that I finished in 2009 called Concrete, Steel, and Paint, which was about a mural collaboration between state prisoners and crime victims. And what had inspired me to work on that was, it was interesting. I was brought into the project by my filmmaking partner, who I'd collaborated with on some other productions, and he was going up to Gradeford Prison to just explore the potential for doing a story about this project. And I wasn't really in a position at the time to take on another independent project, but I went with him just to help. And I was really taken by what I saw. We met with a group of men who were part of a mural class at Gradeford Prison who were interested in doing a mural on the outside. They were all artists and they wanted a way to express themselves and their transformation process, their healing that they had gone through in prison. And I met a lot of guys from the neighborhood where I used to be a community organizer, and also where I live now. So it actually got me thinking back to that time when I was involved in organizing, and all the families I knew who had relatives who were incarcerated, and just talking with some of the guys who live in the neighborhood where I live now. And I just got really interested. I thought, we sometimes tend to think that people who are in prison are removed from the rest of us because they are locked up, but they're really connected in so many ways that we forget to think about. And then I'm just really interested in general in art as a process for facilitating social change. So as a filmmaker, it was really interesting for me to be documenting a collaboration that was an artistic collaboration that was about a social change process.
Absolutely. So kind of touching on home.
Yeah.
Definitely is a trigger. And if you were to give some advice to maybe some young filmmakers in the area who are looking to get started and, maybe they don't have the funds or things like that, what kind of advice would you give them?
Oh, that's a good one, because I'm working on a project now that's not funded. I say, go with your heart, come to places like Philly Cam. I mean, I think if you really feel inspired about a subject, you want to go for it. I mean, there's plenty of little projects I've been, that I work on from time to time, nothing that I think would ever come to fruition in the sense of being like distributed, but just things that I make for myself because I'm just interested either in just playing around with the equipment or something catches my eye and I'm like, this is just a way to kind of exercise my craft and go out and, you know, just video something that I feel connected to.
So listen to your heart.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. That way you can't go wrong.
I'm right there with you. Yeah. Well, we're going to take another look at some of your work, and we're all going to see some of your inspiration.
Okay.
So let's take a look.
My name is Indah Nuritasari, and I live in South Philly. And I never considered myself an artist, but now I think I'm an artist. I am originally from Indonesia. I moved to Philly in 2001 because I got married to an Indonesian man here. And I got pregnant right away. A doctor at a clinic that I went to asked me to volunteer to translate some paperwork and some information from English into Indonesian for some people who don't speak English. I learned at that time that there were so many Indonesians living in South Philly. I got involved more and more in the community. That was when my project starts. I got involved into big surveys about Indonesian communities in Philadelphia. I interviewed about 100 people. They have their own voices. They need to tell their stories to other Indonesians and to the American communities here. As a journalist, they think I could write their stories better, but I was like, no, you have to tell your stories because you are the only ones who know your story. So I conducted a workshop for Indonesian female immigrants so they can write their own memoir living in Philadelphia. Many immigrants, especially refugees or asylees, they moved here from a war-torn country. In their country, they have so many social, political problems. And when they moved here, they have to adapt with a new culture. They have to face new problems. So it's a long process. I think it's a life process to find who you are. I realized that art can really help many people rediscovering themselves. While they are writing their own memoir, they realize that this is the time that I have to think about what I want in life, what I think is good for me, and then what I want here in the US. I was so impressed that a memoir workshop can be like a psychological process or like a therapy class for them and for me. I never knew how it felt to be a minority because I'm Javanese and it's the main ethnic groups in Indonesia. Indonesia is very diverse, and then in Indonesia I couldn't really feel it or taste it, but here I was able to meet people from so many islands that I've never been to, and I felt like, oh my God, I've became more Indonesian here in Philly. This leeway art and change give us the time and the moment to think about our own voices, to think about our identity, to reinvent ourselves, and it's really important in immigrants' life. In the future, I really hope that I can work more with refugees, with asylees, with immigrants, especially women, because they didn't have the chance, the opportunities to find themselves in their countries. And then while they're here, while they're trying to adapt to American values, American culture, they also can try to find themselves as an individual, and I would like to work more on this.
Hi, welcome back to the Philadelphia Music, Dance, and Modern Art Show. We're still here with the wonderful Cindy and just got to take a look at some more of your work. It was fantastic. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the piece you just saw is one of the artist profiles that I did for the Leeway Foundation, which aired on PhillyCam. And I was actually the recipient of a Leeway Foundation Transformation Award.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was great. It was great the year that I got it because I just had my son, and it was really hard for me to do a lot of things. So I made a video for them of some of their grantees, and the one you saw is a profile. So it's a profile of one of their. They give it's called an Art and Change grant. Mm-hmm. And this one was the recipient of one of those grants. And so it's just, these artist profiles were really more, they were, I guess, a series of stories about women who were involved in art for social change. So those were really fun, getting to know the work of other women in the city and what they do and how they express themselves through the different mediums. That was a series of 3 pieces that I did. One was a ceramicist, the one you saw, Inda is a writer, and the other woman is a radio producer. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting to be able to be in their worlds, to see what they do.
And being in Philadelphia native, Philadelphia filmmaker, do you see the difference? Do you see the zest of our city when you go into a project? Our city, I feel, is filled with culture and love, and do you see that come across in your work?
Yeah, I love stories about Philly. I'm coming to realize that in my work. I mean, most of it is rooted in Philly. People always say, oh, you're a documentary filmmaker, you can live anywhere, you don't have to be tied to the industry in LA or New York, and you can just be anywhere because then you can go and just travel to wherever your subject matter is. But I found that most of my work is actually rooted in Philly, because the other perspective is when you're a documentary filmmaker, you can most likely find something that's interesting in the city where you live. And that's so my most recent film that I'm working on is about a Philly-based brass band that kind of come from, it's a 11-piece brass and percussion ensemble, made up of people who have roots in the Gospel Church and Mummers community.
Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And people connect with that. And that's what I love about this city. So let's let our viewers know, where can they find you, learn about your new work, and just keep in touch.
Yeah, I am slowly getting into the world of, I guess, the 21st century. I have like a personal Facebook page.
Okay.
I have a film Facebook page for Concrete, Steel, and Paint, but I have not done much to manage it. The best place to find me right now is probably either on the New Day Films website, which is newday.com, or concretefilm.org, which is the website for Concrete, Steel, and Paint. I am developing a website for myself, but I don't know exactly when it will be launched. By the time you're seeing this, it might have launched, but that would just be Cindy Burstein WordPress site.
Perfect. Well,
so yeah, there's a few ways, but yeah, I'm getting there with the promotion. I'm not very good at it.
Sure. Well, you know what? This is a great start, and our viewers are excited, and I'm sure they'll be happy to check you out. Thank you so much, Cindy. Thanks. Well, we're going to sign off by taking another look at some of your work, and we'll see you soon, Philadelphia.
Like this. we're not just a one genre type of band. We're not just a one type of music kind of band. Whereas where we started as a unit, we started out from the platform of the Mummers thing. Or we started out from the platform of the New Year's Day parade, the New Year's band. What was shocking to me when I did come in and be a part of the band was that I didn't have any other preconceived notions except that we would be, you know, a New Year's Day type of band that, you know, did shows here and there, or whatever, and if it caught on, it caught on. What bugged me out and what surprised me was after getting in here and getting around all y'all and feeling y'all energy and feeling y'all ideas and how y'all play and what y'all think about playing, it just turned into absolutely more than that.
You know, we come from various Mummers traditions, we come from the gospel traditions, and those are rooted, those are branches of even older traditions.
And Ringo said something earlier that's very true. Because of our makeup, because of our different nationalities, races, backgrounds, and all that kind of stuff, that on itself and that by itself causes us to have different things in our music and different elements of our music.
We're a Philly sound. You know, we're making a new sound for Philadelphia. So when people describe it and they hear it in the future, they go, "What's that?" And I go, "Oh, that's a Philly brass sound."
We haven't reach what it is that I think that we're able to be yet, but we're at least scratching the surface of what it is that we're able to be. And I think it's a disservice to us to just put us as a Mummers band or something like that. But what we won't do, no matter if it's Mummers music, gospel music, R&B music, rock music, whatever genre of music it is, what we won't do is forget that we have all of that as a part of us.
Hi there, welcome to the Philadelphia Music, Dance, and Modern Art Show. I'm your host, Alicia Allen, and today we have a fantastic show in store for you. I'm really excited. We have Ebony Collier with us here today. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
How are you doing?
All right.
Well, we're very excited to have you. You're an abstract artist, local from Philadelphia.
Yes.
So for some of our viewers who may not be familiar with your work or what you do, why don't you give us a little background about yourself and talk about your work, what inspires you, maybe some training, you know, how you got started.
Okay. I was a poet before I was a painter, and I started taking painting classes about 4 years ago. And I take classes at Fleischer Art Memorial, which is a great resource that provides either tuition-free or low-cost classes for artists of all ages.
That's fantastic. And did you know growing up, since 4 years ago, that's pretty recent, did you just know as a child, were you, artistic, were you drawing? Did you always know that you wanted to dabble in this?
No, I never saw this coming at all.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. And just one day, you just knew okay. So tell us, what inspires you on an everyday basis? When you wake up, do you just go into a project with a clear slate of mind, or how do you approach each project?
Sometimes it's just kind of a compulsion to paint. Like I'm like, okay, I have to paint right now. So I just go in, no thoughts whatsoever. Being that it's abstract, it doesn't mean anything or represent anything. Just kind of fascinated with textures and colors.
Sure, okay. And maybe, for some local artists out there who are looking to, possibly get into a similar field or just, start dabbling in, in just drawing or things like that, what advice do you give, maybe young students or just anyone? It doesn't have to be a young person, just somebody who is interested to get started, maybe become an artist.
I would say find an artist that they admire and try to contact them and see if they would be interested in, if not necessarily mentoring them, then just kind of having a conversation with them about the process, about taking classes, about showing your work.
Sure. And really quick, I do have to ask, an artist that you look up to, you admire?
Not living, but Frida Kahlo is a great inspiration to me.
Absolutely. So why don't you give our viewers just a little taste of where they can find your work, a website or Facebook or something like that?
Social media, I am on Instagram, EMALAIKAC, Facebook.com/E.M.C visual art, and I also have a website that's ebonymcollier.wix.com/EMC visual art.
All right, that is a mouthful, but we all remember your name, so we'll check out Ebony Collier, and we're actually going to go ahead and take a look at some of your work right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Talk the Talk with your hosts, Charles Gregory and Madam Touch, bringing you the latest news from Philadelphia and around the world. We're talking about everything from fashion to politics to music and technology. So if you can walk the walk, we're gonna talk the talk.